Unit 28. Medioid scop trans pro re re der mendo. Medi comes from the Latin medius, meaning middle. Our word medium refers to something in a middle position. The medieval period of European history, also known as the Middle Ages, is the period between Greek and Roman antiquity and the modern age. But why people around 1620 began to use the term Middle Ages, because they regarded themselves as modern, is an interesting question. Median in the middle, especially, having a value that is in the middle of a series of values arranged from smallest to largest. The city's west side is well off, but its east side isn't, so the city's median house prices are typical for the region. People often use the word average without realizing that there are two common forms of average. Suppose you want to find the average net worth of a group of people, that is, the average value of everything they possess. To find one type of average, called the mean, you'd simply add up the total value of money and property of everyone in the group and divide it by the number of people. To find the other type, called the median, you'd identify the net worth of the person who is richer than half the people and poorer than the other half. So if Warren Buffett drove through a tiny village in India, the mean net worth of those in the village would suddenly rise to perhaps $1 billion, but their median net worth would remain close to zero. Which figure would be more meaningful? Mediate. 1. To work with opposing sides in an argument or dispute in order to get an agreement. 2. To achieve a settlement or agreement by working with the opposing sides. He was the third person who had attempted to mediate the dispute between the firm and its striking workers, the first two having given up in despair. Mediation is often used in disputes between companies and labor unions, and the government actually provides mediators for such disagreements. The mediator tries to bring the two sides to an agreement, but doesn't have the power to actually order such an agreement. Mediators also sometimes have a role in international disputes, when two neighboring countries claim exclusive fishing rights in the same ocean waters. For example, they may invite a trained mediator to help settle the argument. Arbitration is similar to mediation, but in arbitration both parties in a dispute agree to accept the arbitrator's decision. Intermediary: a person who works with opposing sides in a dispute in order to bring about an agreement. The divorce had been bitter, and the two now communicated only through an old friend who they both trusted as an intermediary. Since inter means between, among, see inter, an intermediary is someone who moves back and forth in the middle area between two sides, a go-between. Mediator, which shares the medi root, is often a synonym, and so is facilitator. Broker and agent are often others. Thus, a real estate broker or agent shuttles between a house's buyer and seller, who may never even meet each other. Financial intermediation is what happens when you put money in a bank or investment firm, which then invests it in various companies. If you want, you can instead cut out the intermediary and invest the money directly in companies of your own choosing. Mediocrity: the quality of being not very good. He's the kind of person who can get depressed by the mediocrity of a dinner, or even a wine. People interested in words always point out that mediocrity doesn't mean quite what its main root would indicate. Why doesn't it describe something that's right in the middle of the pack, exactly what you would expect? Instead, the words mediocrity and mediocre always suggest disappointment. A mediocre play is one you wish you hadn't wasted an evening on, and the mediocre actor in it should probably find another profession. A person can even be called a mediocrity, though it isn't very nice and you'd never do it to his face. Oid comes from the Greek word for appearance or form. Since aster in ancient Greek meant star, the small bodies orbiting between Mars and Jupiter that looked like stars through primitive telescopes were called asteroids. A factoid is a little bit of information that looks like a fact, whether it is or not. And some people these days will attach oid to just about anything. You can probably figure out the meaning of nutsoid, nerdoid, and freakazoid without much help. Rhomboid in geometry, a shape with four sides where only the opposite sides and angles are equal. The flimsy picture frame had been damaged en route, and its rectangular shape was now a rhomboid. Rhomboids, like triangles, may take various different shapes, but they always look like a lopsided diamond or rectangle. As both a noun and an adjective, rhomboid can be applied to anything with those shapes, such as certain muscles of the upper back when viewed from behind. Whenever you hear about rhomboid exercises, rhomboid strain, or rhomboid pain, it involves those muscles, which attach your shoulder blades to your spine and can be strained by carrying a heavy backpack, serving a tennis ball, or just slumping in your chair in front of a computer all day. Deltoid, a large muscle of the shoulder. In anatomy class, she had learned about the deltoids, which her trainer at the gym just called delts. The fourth letter of the Greek alphabet is delta, and a capital delta is triangle-shaped. In English, delta commonly means the sand deposits that form a huge triangle at the mouth of certain large rivers. Deltoid as an adjective means having a triangular shape, and botanists often use the word to describe the shape of certain leaves. The triangular, swept-back wings seen on jet fighter aircraft are called delta wings. Your deltoid muscles, not far from your rhomboids, form a cap on your shoulders, and some gym trainers even treat shoulder and deltoid as synonyms. Can you guess the general shape of deltoids when seen from the side? Dendroid, resembling a tree in form. The reef was a fantastic jungle, its dendroid corals resembling luminous, poisonous trees in a landscape of bizarre beauty. Dendrology is the study of trees, and those who do the studying are called dendrologists. So dendroid describes something that branches in all directions from a central trunk in an irregular way. The word is almost always used by biologists, who often speak of dendroid seaweeds, dendroid moss, and dendroid algae. Humanoid, looking or acting like a human. We slowly learn that most of Dr. Bennell's friends have been replaced by humanoid substitutes that have emerged from pods. A humanoid robot, sometimes called an android, is a robot that resembles a human. Accounts of the Yeti, Sasquatch, and Bigfoot continue to fascinate us mainly because of their humanoid characteristics. The idea of creating a monstrous humanoid, such as the Jewish golem or Victor Frankenstein's creation, has intrigued us for centuries. Humanoid animation is a standard for creating human-like figures for video that lets the same figure be used in a variety of 3D games, some of which have nothing but humanoids for characters.